Hey guys, welcome back. I am Chris with Marksman Shooting Sports and WeBuyGuns.com in Westfield, Indiana, and you are watching Marksman TV. Today we're going to talk about the top 5 most common used firearms that have come into our store either through our website or through the front door in 2022 so far. We did this same video at the end of 2021. A lot of you seem to enjoy it, so we thought we would keep up with the tradition and do one for this year as well. So if that sounds interesting to you, please stick around. That's coming up now. Okay, first up in no particular order, we have Canik pistols. We get a ton of these things in, at least a couple a week. What we have here is a TP9 SF in flat dark earth or tan and a TP9 SFX, both of these 9mm. The TP9 SFX is sort of their loaded competition ready model with fiber optic sights, lightning cuts, front and back slide serrations, interchangeable back straps, optics plate or optics ready with 4 interchangeable optics plate, ready to go with holster, 2 magazines. Really cool package. The TP9 SF is basically their base model pistol. Now, Canik is a company based out of Turkey. It has actually been around for more than 20 years, but based mainly in the aerospace defense industry. They've actually worked with companies like Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Airbus. And it was actually in about 2009 that they got into the firearms industry. Funny that the history sort of is similar to that of Eugene Stoner with Armalite, which was a division of Fairchild making aircraft components because they were very well versed in lightweight polymers and aluminums. That's when Eugene Stoner sort of had the tooling, equipment, and expertise to apply that material to the firearms industry with AR-15 and AR-10 designs. Later, the M16 as adopted by the United States military. Similar thing here with Canik. Because of their expertise in the aerospace industry, they applied a lot of what they know to the firearms industry. In 2009, coming out with their TP9 series of pistols, and in 2012 they co-opted with Century Arms to bring them into the United States, but it was really around 2018, 2019 with the introduction of the TP9 Elite Combat that the brand really started taking off. It's been within the past 2, 3, 4 years that we have seen the Canik pistols coming in like crazy, but this year especially as well, through our website and through the front door, we just see a ton of Caniks. Now, one of the things that I think makes them so common to come in use is the fact that they are very abundant on the market at a price point. They're typically between $300 to $500, less than that used. You're getting, as you can see, really nice packages, and they are very functional, very good quality firearms. In 2018 they were awarded, I can't remember the publication, but they were awarded Pistol of the Year. In fact, they are a really good quality firearm for the money, and because of that, a lot of people tend to have at least one of these in their collection, or at least a lot of people start out on Caniks as a beginning handgun and then might move into something else, which is why we might see them traded in or sold to us frequently. But it goes without saying that because of their abundance on the marketplace, we do see a ton of them come in. If you're looking for a really good introduction or introductory pistol, you should not have to travel far to find a used one online or in a local gun store at a really good price. Again, a good budget firearm that's good quality that you could get started in just to sort of test your feet with a pistol or firearm ownership in general, and then maybe move into something else if you don't have the budget to keep it, trade it in. They do a pretty good job of maintaining a lot of their resale value. Of course, like anything else you buy new, you trade it in used, you're going to lose some money on it, whether you sell to a gun store or to the private market. That goes without saying, but there are definitely other firearms that you would lose a lot more on rather than a Canik. So even when we get these things in, in very high volumes, they tend to move almost as quickly as they come in. Again, people always looking for them. So anyway, that's the first one we have for our list today, the Canik handgun series, specifically the SFX we see a ton of, and then the general base model TP9 and TP9 SF. So up next is another handgun that we see a ton of. In fact, I did one of these videos for the most common used handguns that we purchased in 2021, and this was on that list as well, and things have not changed. This is the Sig P365, and here I have just a few of the ones we have in stock right now, kind of to show you a variety. The P365 is a 9mm sort of micro compact, or I guess subcompact pistol. developed by Sig and would actually hit the market a few years ago, and was really the first pioneer in the small 1.5 stack type micro concealed carry 9mm that have the much higher capacity magazine. If we go back to the days of the Glock 43 or the Smith & Wesson Shield or the Walther PPS, you know, you're getting single stack magazines at a typical capacity between 6 and 8 rounds. When the 365 came out, you had a smaller package with a 10-round capacity, later added 12 and 15. And the myriad different configurations of the pistol that have come out, like this one, the SAS, which has the bullseye sights with a sort of integrated into the slide fiber optic rear sight and no front, with smaller controllers to be the Sig anti-snag ported barrel. And then the base model, like this one, which is the one that actually first came out with or without the safety, with Romeo 3 day-night sights. Again, 9mm base capacity was 10, but here has a 12-round capacity magazine. You can get the 15-rounders with the extension. The XL, which had a longer frame and slide, which had a base capacity at 12 rounds, cannot take the 10-round mags unless it's a 12-round length that's been restricted down to 10 for ban-compliant states. And of course, the 15-rounders fit that as well. For the several years that this has been on the market, it's caused a sort of a tidal wave of other similar products to come out from other manufacturers, like the Springfield Hellcat or the Glock 43X or the Smith & Wesson Shield Plus, where they've gone again from that single stack 6 to 8 round capacity to 10, 12, 14, 15 rounds, and that's really become the new standard in concealed carry 9mm pistols. But I think, like the Caniks that we just took a look at, there are so many of these that have been purchased, especially being the first of its kind on the market, that because of that sheer volume would dictate that it's going to be likely that a lot of them are going to come in used. Brand new, the base pistols are in the 500 range, but used, you can get them down to the 4 range in good condition with extra mags and stuff like this. This one has a light, so you do have an optic rail. This is a TLR or a Streamlight. There it goes, TLR 7 on there. Let's get that turned off. And you could put lasers. We actually just had one we sold today with a laser on it. And then, of course, the different frame sizes. The X model actually has the XL frame with the standard length slide. So all sorts of different configurations. So again, really, really popular. I think we're seeing so many of these, again, just based on sheer volume, not the fact that they're a bad handgun. People generally like them, and a lot of people carry them and use them. And like the Caniks, they sell about as fast as they come in. So anyway, really cool pistols, but we do see a ton of them. So that'll be our next one on the list. All right, next up is our only long gun category in this video, and it is basically AR-15s as a whole. If there is a year of the AR-15, it is 2022. Usually during periods of high demand where there's panic and people are out buying tons of firearms, it is typically AR-15s that are sought after the most. And then following periods of panic, when you enter periods of low demand, it is typically AR-15s that people sell the most. So we see a ton of AR-15s. We either purchase or people bring in or put on our website multiple AR-15s every single day. So we see a ton of them come through our store, and they're usually the things that kind of back up in terms of our inventory. And it's usually the lower end stuff. Palmetto State Armory probably accounts for most of the AR-15s we see, either their products or uppers and lowers that people put together on Arrow Precisions or Spikes or Palmetto lowers or anything like that. So Palmetto AR-15s like this, this one is a pistol with a pistol brace on it. I think also because of all the talk of legislation of removing pistol braces, we're starting to see people sell firearms with pistol braces. So lots of AR-15 pistols with braces we are seeing a lot of. This one, ATI Alpha, yeah, the Omni Hybrid Alpha, ATI, another terrible investment, Model A. This is, and I'm just kidding to all of my ATI fans in the chat, they actually, ATI imports GSG products, German sport guns, so the Fireflies and the little 1911s and the MP5 clones and the STG 44s, those are also awesome products. The Omni Hybrid is 100% polymer construction, or I don't think they call, I think the Omni Hybrid was a Bushmaster product if I'm not mistaken, but this is just called the Alpha 15. All polymer construction, very inexpensive. So again, it is these budget low cost AR-15s we are seeing a ton of. Ruger AR-556s, Smith & Wesson MP-15s, you name it, we are seeing a ton of them this year. So if somebody is out looking for AR-15s at probably affordable prices, depending on your area or gun store, you know, now is really a good time to jump on one because they are everywhere. Check your local boards and listings too. I'm sure you will find a ton of them there as well. But you know, AR-15s are made by like 15 or 20 or 30 different companies now. Back in the early 2000s, it was just a handful. When the assault weapons ban expired, you know, lots of different companies got on board with the ARs, and by 2008, 2009, tons more were making them. So these have been made for several decades by lots of different manufacturers. And of course, AR-15s are things that people can make at home with parts kits, with your own, you know, strip lower receiver, and you can get all the different parts and components online shipped straight to your door as well. They're not controlled other than the receiver. So I know a lot of people have been doing that, so they're just everywhere. This is actually a nice one. This is a Bushmaster XM15E2S, that's right, and this is an early one before they were bought by, who were they purchased by, Remington? Yeah, they were purchased by Remington. And then when Wyndham was started, it was before all of that happened. So this is an early Bushmaster AR-15, which actually the early ones are really nice. It's kind of like modern Wyndham weaponry products that you see today. So look for Wyndham or an early Bushmaster. It's a good AR-15. Really nice flat top with the A4 removable carry handle, quad rail, M203 cutout. Everybody needs that. So anyway, definitely seeing a ton of these. Had to put it on the list, and again, it's our only long gun on the list, so we will move on to the next one. All right, up next is another one we get a ton of, and it is specifically, obviously, Glock handguns, but specifically the Model 19 and 17 in all generations. Here's a 17 Gen 5, this one with night sights. Just showing you guys a variety because we always have a ton of these on hand. A 17 Gen 5 with also night sights, but with color fill that somebody had put in this. People love to do that with Glocks. 19s, I have a couple here. This is a 19 Gen 3. Generation 3 is my personal favorite. From a lot of you guys who've been watching the channel, you guys know that I love Glock handguns. I'm a big fan of them. Go ahead and call me a Glock fanboy. It's okay, I can take it. I've been called worse. And then there is a Glock 19 Gen 4. The 19s and the 17s, again, I think that there's a couple reasons why we are seeing these, actually specifically this year, way more frequently than we have in the past. We've always seen our fair share of Glocks, but I would never say that they came in with any type of velocity that would put them on the top of one of these lists. But now we are definitely seeing a ton of them. 19s and 17s are really, if we take all Glock models, where people are either, you know, bringing them to us to sell or sell them to us multiple times a day, every day. So we're seeing a ton of them hit the market. Again, the reason for that is these have been around for such a long time. They're now on the 5th generation. So the 17 was Gen 1, the 19 came along in Gen 2. Do not believe there was a 19 Gen 1. I'm pretty sure there wasn't. But both handgun models have been around for a very, very long time, and tons and tons and tons of things of these things have been manufactured and purchased. So it will stand to reason that we're going to see a lot of them. But that was also true of last year and the year before that and the year before that. Why are we also all of a sudden starting to see a lot of them now? Sort of my prediction on that is I've seen another trend lately with used versions, and that's this gun, the Shadow Systems. This one specifically is the MR920, which is the same size as the Glock 19, but it has a bunch of improvements to it. Now, this is the combat version with forward slide serrations, really nice bronze barrel, really nice grip texturing on the pistol as well. And the Elite version has the lightning cuts. It comes standard with the night sights, and you can get options for not a lot more with threaded barrels and with optics plates, which is really the thing a lot of people are wanting today. I know Glock offers the same thing with their MOS line. Really nice flared magwell here and a really enhanced trigger. A lot of people complain about the sponginess of the Glock trigger. I personally am so used to it. I have tens of thousands of rounds through Glock, so I'm really at home on them. But the Shadow Systems trigger is a definite improvement. Now, I'm starting to see a lot of these show up used on the market too, which tells me that a lot of people are starting to buy them. If you look at them price-wise, the Glock handguns new in the Gen 5 are in the mid to high 500 range, depending if you get the MOS or night sights or just the base model. For not a lot more, you can get into the Shadow Systems, which again is a very enhanced, upgraded Glock, more or less. So you have enhanced triggers, enhanced barrels, sights, and much nicer stylizing on the slide. I know a lot of people complain about just sort of the plain Jane look of the Glock handgun. So I think a lot of people are catching on to this product. and sort of when they're deciding between a Glock and this, they may be getting rid of their Glocks to go to this, which is really a more modernized version of the Glock not made by Glock. Now, Gaston Glock, the designer of the original Glock 17 handgun and the owner of the Glock company, there's a really interesting book put out by Paul Barrett called Glock, The Rise of America's Handgun. He sort of talked about his traditionalism when it came to the handgun design. There's a lot of designers and people who work at Glock who have always wanted to expand on the Glock concept, coming out with even things like carbines. And I know a lot of people joke, and there's memes out there about Glock 1911s and Glock revolvers, which don't exist, except now the Glock AR-15, as I alluded to in the last segment, that AR-15s are made by everybody. Why not have a Glock AR-15? But the design concept, I mean, this is a Gen 3, this is a Gen 4, this one is a Gen 5. You just don't see much change over the different generations, which a lot of people have complained about. You would expect in the modern era, compared to other things put out by Sig or Springfield or FN, that you would move into something naturally like this. So I think Shadow Systems sort of saw the wide open field in the market and sort of stepped in and took it, and I think it's paying off. And a lot of people are moving over to these and getting away from Glocks, even Glock people. I personally think these are awesome handguns. So that could be it. There's one other product I know a lot of other companies have been going off of the Glock concept as well. This is a Zev Technologies pistol, quite a bit more expensive, but again, you're taking the same concept of things like the Glock 19 and putting things like a really nice threaded barrel. Stylizing on this is just awesome. I mean, it just looks great. It feels great in the hand. Really nice metal mag flare down here. Much better trigger. This is optics ready as well. Fiber optic front sights, as I mentioned, threaded barrel. So again, I think other companies are sort of stepping in and taking over the potential of what the Glock handgun line could have turned into in the year 2022 by now. So anyway, definite one that we are seeing a ton of. Because of that, you know, if you're looking for Glock handguns, I would urge you to look on the used market first, because you can get really conditioned Glock handguns for quite a big discount over what they are new right now. So anyway, that is our next one. Let's move on to the last one. Okay, last but not least is yet another SIG that we are seeing very often, and that is the P320. I know a lot of you guys love these handguns, and that's probably why we see so many of them. Again, they've been manufactured now for well over 5 years now, probably 6-7 years by SIG at this point, and like typical SIG fashion, they make these in tons of different varieties. SIG is great about coming out with a new product and just kind of expanding the hell out of it with different colors and slide configurations and sizes and calibers, and whether it's, you know, the basic Nitron version, whether it's, you know, a elite version, whether it's the Legion series. So they offer so many different varieties on these pistols, just like everything else. I think part of the popularity of these, as well as the military adoption of the SIG P320 as the M17 through the XM17 modular handgun trials, which was now about 3 or 4 years ago. We noticed here in our gun store that after SIG had won that contract, just like anything else that the military or police typically does on scale, it usually drives a lot of interest with the consumer market. So we saw SIG P320 sales escalate after that. And we have sold tons of these things, and I think by extension, because there's so much of them on the market, of course, they're bound to show up used when people either want to trade in for something new or need extra cash, you know, to fix something around the house or go on vacation. So this is just one we see very commonly. There are, as mentioned, many different varieties of this. This is just the basic P320 compact version. This one has a Wilson Combat frame on it, and again, because they are so popular, there's so much aftermarket support for these, so a lot of different parts and accessories. Forward slide serrations on this with the SIG Romeo 3 day-night sights. You can get them with the basic 3-dot white sight. So again, if the P320 is something that you're looking for, look on the used market, because they are everywhere right now, at least in my experience. Kind of the cool thing about these specifically, what makes them really popular, is their modularity. So you can actually take out the trigger module, which is the serialized part, and put it into different frames to change the contour, the color, the frame size. So you can mix and match with different calibers, with different slide lengths, with different frame sizes and colors, to really come up with a variety of different handguns out of just one serialized part. As an example, here are a couple of just stripped frames. Actually not stripped, it has the the magazine release. So you could take the trigger module out, and then which contains the slide lock on it, and then you could take out the takedown lever, pop that through here, and then now everything is flipped over to this handgun and it's ready to go. All of that can be done in less than a minute or two. In fact, this I think came on this handgun and it was switched over to this Wilson Combat Grip. So cool. Very popular design. Again, we see a ton of them, so keep your eye out there. If you're even looking for your first handgun, a used Sig P320 is not a bad deal for the money right now. Very high quality. Again, one other thing quickly to look out for is the thinner trigger. A few years ago, these did have a problem with drop safety, so there was a recall on getting the trigger updated. Seeing this thin profile trigger is the telltale sign that it was made either after the recall or has been back for the recall. If it has an earlier fatter trigger, which you can find pictures on Google, you know it has not been back for the recall, and there is some drop safety concerns that should be attached to that handgun. So anyway, we'll leave you guys off with the Sig P320 in this video. Well guys, that is all the time I have for you today on this. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking out this video. If you enjoyed, please let me know by hitting that like button. Please also consider subscribing to my channel and hit that bell notification button so you are aware when we are posting new content. I'm going to leave you guys off with that. I am Chris with Marksman Shooting Sports in Westfield, Indiana. You are watching Marksman TV, and I will see you next time.